Hey, Nee. Hey, Renee. Welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hey, you guys.
Hi. Thank you for having us on the show.
Thank you so much.
Well, this has been a long time coming. I mean, you guys have been with the His and Her Money community almost from the very beginning. And we've just been watching you guys do this thing and chip away at it. And so we're so thrilled that today we get to help you guys celebrate the fact that you all are completely debt-free. We are so happy to do this. But before we start to talk about your incredible story, can you just take a moment and introduce yourselves to everybody and let them know what you're all about?
Absolutely. You want to go first?
Well, my name is Renee. This is my husband, Nii. And we basically are two physicians. And so being two physicians, we racked up $662,000 worth of debt. And like you said, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
It's our little son who wants to add some details about the story. But we racked up a whole bunch of debt, and we were struggling with how we were going to pay off our debt. Do you want us to kind of start how we started the whole process, or?
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the debt. Again, let's talk about how much debt was it and what type of debt was it? Was it all student loans? And how long did it take you guys to pay it off?
So it's a combination. So the majority of it, we'd say about 85% of it was student loan debt. So we both went to the same med school. We both got our MBAs in a dual degree program. So we graduated with each with about $242,000 of debt. So that's medical school as well as undergrad, right? And then when I graduated from medical school, I went down to Atlanta, Georgia to do my residency for surgery. Renee went to New Jersey. For me, when I graduated, it was literally, we're talking 12, 13, 14, 15 years of delayed gratification. And, I just got to the point where I was like, I needed to reward myself with something. So I went ahead in 2006 and got a townhome because that's what everybody else did in Atlanta, Georgia. And so not only did we have the student loan debt, but we also had, or at least I had brought into the relationship, a condo also.
Now, some people are going to say they're two doctors. So, of course, it was easy. Listen, I would have cried my eyes out if I would have pulled out a calculator and hit the enter button and it said $600-something thousand of debt. Talk to us about that moment where you all took the time to figure out how much debt you were in, and that number comes across the screen. Like, talk about the emotions of seeing and swallowing that pill.
And how long did it take you guys to pay it off?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Now, but it was everything that you just said from an emotional standpoint is what we felt. So, panic and tears. So
yeah, it was complete panic because you realize at that point that so much of your livelihood essentially is going to be tied to paying down debt. And so, it's like you're going to work just to pay off these loans. And that's not really what you imagine, right? When you imagine yourself as a professional, you're in your mind, you're not thinking, oh man, I can't wait. I'm going to have a house. I'm going to pay off, some loans. Like, that's not really what you go into it for. So it was literally sheer panic.
And I mean, I was really disappointed. I was, we both come from immigrant families. My dad came to the United States in the late 1960s on a boat, and then through, hard work and hustle, he was able to go through community college and then eventually got my mom to come over and then had, my sister and then me. And for me, I always felt as though there should be, he set the foundation. There should be a large or, quite a different change in just life, how our life would be, because we were standing on his shoulders. And once we realized that literally we were living paycheck to paycheck, we were in so much debt. It literally, like, I was hurt. I just felt as though like I had let my parents down because, like living paycheck to paycheck, and we're both medical professionals. That shouldn't happen.
Right.
So in essence, what happened is we graduated both of $240,000 in debt, and then we still had an additional 4 to 5 years of training afterwards as residents. And I don't know if the listeners know, but you don't get paid much during that.
No.
You're anywhere between $30,000 to $40,000 a year. We didn't know much about student loans. We started to pay them just a little bit. So we did a lot of deferment, a lot of forbearance. So over that 4 to 5 year period, it ballooned another $100,000 each.
Yeah.
So when we finally got married,
Yeah.
it was just like, wait, how did we get to 330 each? I thought we were at 240.
Yeah.
So it was just shock. It was just awe. It was just disappointment. But we didn't let that stop us. We didn't let that stop us. And then the biggest thing that we also realized was that, we made bad financial decisions with insurance. We had whole life insurance and so forth. So that whole process kind of just was like, whoa, we need to really, go back and reevaluate all the decisions that we made.
Yeah.
So talk about that moment when you both had the conversation, about your debt and you said, you know what, I think we want to pay this money off. We want to pay this debt off. Talk about that time.
So we're both debt averse. So that conversation thankfully went very well, because we know that, if you're not on the same page financially as a couple, it can be very stressful. When we finally had the conversation about paying off the debt, I think the conversation really came up more when we realized that we were living paycheck to paycheck. And we realized that we weren't budgeting. And so once we realized, okay, you know what, maybe if we budget, we could figure out how to pay off these student loans in a short period of time. The initial plan was to pay off the student loan debt in about 13 to 15 years, I think it was. So we had our student loans that were private loans at first. And we said, okay, we'll try to pay those off. The original plan was 5 years. Then we went down to like 3 years. And then we said we would pay off our federal loans over 10 years. And you wanna pick it up from there?
Yeah. So we had a plan, and then all of a sudden I went to work one day. She came home, or I think either she came home early or she was off. I come home, and like the first thing that I get when greeting the door is, I think we could pay the loans off fast. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we already made a plan. Like, I'm the type of person, like, when we make a plan, let's stick with it and let's move on. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we made a plan already. Yeah. And so in essence, she had called up Sally Mae and said, can you let us know what our loan payments would be if we wanted to pay our loans off in 5 years? And she literally was calculating that on the phone and gave us a number. Then she said, can you tell us what our payments would be in 3 years? And then also in 1 year. Obviously 1 year was crazy. 3 years, initially I thought was crazy. So she had all the numbers. She gave it to me, and I said, man, like, I don't think we could do any of this. And then she came to the table. She said, actually, I think we can do it in 5 years. I was like, well, she showed the numbers, and we started playing around on a budget, on a spreadsheet. And we said, look, it looks like we can make it happen, actually, in 5 years.
Right. And actually, the private loans, I told him, I said, look, we could pay the private loans off in 1 year. Yeah, and his head exploded.
Yeah, I didn't believe it. But
we ended up paying that off in 6 months.
Yeah, we did it in 6 months. We just realized that even though we have our MBAs, like basic personal finance information, we were lacking in that. We didn't know how to save, or actually we just knew how to save, but we didn't know how to invest. We didn't know how to budget. Those type of things were lacking. And it wasn't until literally like we discovered your podcast and discovered some other podcasts that really we started to realize the power of our income and what we can really do.
Right.
Wow.
So much I want to get into.
Yeah.
I really want to put in context.
Wait, let me just say this. That is so important. I love how you receive the information and then you calculate and said, okay, let me, try to see if we can pay this off. I think all too many times we get loans, whether it's mortgages or whatnot, and they tell you 15 years, 30 years, you take that payment, you're comfortable with it. You might add an extra 100, 150, but you're really not leaving your comfort zone, And so I love that. I love how you called them and you got your information. So that's tip number one for everybody that's listening. Call your creditors. We did that as well too, and we still do it even with the mortgage. We'll say, okay, if it's paid off by this date, how much do we have to pay? And play around with the numbers. So I love that. I love the fact that you guys just didn't settle. You actually took it up a notch. So I just wanted to say that was important.
I'm gonna stick with that. When you called the student loan companies, what did you say? So once you gave them the scenarios, what's 5, what's 3, and what's 1? So based on those conversations, did they recalibrate your payments and almost like a refinance of a house? Mm-hmm. So did they took you from this 13-year plan and made your payments the size of this 5-year plan? That's how it worked.
Correct. That is absolutely correct. So what I did was I said, okay, this is what my balance is, right? So they could see my balance. I'm like, yeah. And pretty much, the loan company has you on a 25-year plan, right? So the 15-year plan was our personal plan at first, but the loan company actually has you on a 25-year plan. So I basically said, well, take my balance today and calculate what it would be if I paid this off in 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years. And they go, okay. And they basically just, calculate that out. And it becomes kind of like what your minimum payment would be, right? So instead of the minimum payment being over 25 years, now it's over a year or 3 years or 5 years. And you can actually do this even without calling the loan companies, because if you plug it in to like an amortization, template, right, calculator, like you do with the house, it will give you the exact same numbers.
And I just wanted to say the reason why we did 13 years is we actually went on that calculator. We typed in our debt and we typed in our interest rates and we typed in the standard length of time that we were in. If we had followed their plan, at the end of paying off the debt, which we would have been in our 60s or 70s, it literally would have the amount would have totaled $1.2 million.
Yeah. Well, 1.1. 1.1.
And we're like, wait, hold on a second.
Yeah.
$1.2 million for 2 degrees? Absolutely not.
For tuition.
So it was literally like we just started shaking our heads because we had no clue this is what was going on when we were signing these promissory notes when we were in college, when we were in medical school, and we kept deferring. We had no idea.
Right.
So this is literally like we had to grow up and become adults just like that.
And I want to just clarify something that Nii said. Nii talks about the townhome. Now the townhome is not factored into the $662,000.
Yeah, we still got more debt.
Yeah, but that's it's a rental property, thankfully. So, that is a debt that we still have, but, it definitely is not as much as the student loan debt, which is kind of like, wow, our student loan debt was more than a house.
Really big house.
Nice house.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In essence, it's 5 times more than that rental property.
Right. Yeah. It's 5 times more than the rental property, which is really
it just tells you how
scary.
It tells you how crippling student loan debt is nowadays.
Right.
I want to get into the fact that I want to harp on the perspective that you all paid off $600,000+ 3 years. That means you all were knocking out over $200,000 a year in just debt, which is
incredible.
I can't even really wrap my mind around it, right? The level of sacrifice, like most people won't make $200,000 in 5 years, and you all put that on debt per year for 3 years. Now, I want to talk about the fact, because I think in a lot of people's minds, they are in a situation where they may have the idea that more money is the answer to their financial problems. You all said on more than one occasion, you all are 2 doctors and we're living paycheck to paycheck. Right. You all had MBAs, you all have medical degrees, and you had no knowledge of personal finance. Right. What separated you all from that place to this place, you said, was learning how to budget, learning about money. Mm-hmm. How hard was that to discipline yourself to arrange your money in such a way where you are intentional about it through the use of budgeting? How tough of a process was that?
You want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, so to come to the conclusion that we needed to budget was not the issue. But, those first few months, it was like, okay, what are we doing? It was a little tough, right? Because you're so used to, not budgeting. You don't realize how much you're actually spending on things.
Mental math.
Yeah, you're doing like, oh yeah, I got money left in the bank. But I'm like, when you have quote unquote money left in the bank and you're actually sharing that money with somebody else and they're swiping and you're swiping and they're swiping, it's like, okay, you don't have as much money in the bank as you think you do. Mm-hmm. And we weren't really good, we weren't really big spenders. So that was helpful. But, it still was something that we had to get used to. The first, I would say 3 to 4 months was just kind of like, wait, how much are we spending on food, dining out, insurance? Insurance was...
Yeah, it was a killer.
Life insurance and disability insurance was just like, I don't even understand why we were spending that much on life and disability insurance.
We were paying more in life and disability insurance than our student loans.
Yeah, at one point.
Yeah, I mean, we made a lot of mistakes. We made a lot of mistakes, and we're very open about it. And I think the biggest thing is we just realized that, we felt powerless. Mm-hmm. And, we felt powerless, and it was just a feeling that we didn't like. And we just decided that we were going to make sure that we never felt that way again. Yeah. So that meant reading, listening to podcasts, going on YouTube. Mm-hmm. We worked together as a team. We called ourselves Team Darko. We really, really, really leaned on your videos, right, in terms of, what to do in terms of a marriage and family. Her debt became my debt. My debt became her debt. Right. And we became a team. Yeah. All those live streams, you guys, they paid off. Yeah. On Periscope. We were watching. See, look at what you did.
Mm-hmm. Now, I love the fact that you guys said that you went from powerless to getting power, and you talked about the different things that you did, reading and watching videos and studying this and operating as a team. Help those who are not in that place. They feel powerless right here and right now. They are not sure about their situation. That debt is scaring them currently. How can they go from powerless to feeling the power that you guys started to feel as you guys started to go through your process?
I would say, so the biggest thing for me, I would say is, I trust my husband, right? I trust him. Like, I know that if he wants something for our family, he wants it because he wants our family to be better. He is not selfish, otherwise I probably wouldn't even be with him, right? But he's not selfish. He's a smart individual. I trust him that if he says, hey, I think that this would be good for our family, that his intentions are always good. And, whether the method is the method that we go along with, that's one thing, but his intention is always something that we trust. So when I hear a lot of people sometimes talk about, well, my husband wants to do this, but my wife wants to do that, and they're just not in sync financially, it just makes me wonder, like, well, you trust each other enough with other things in life. Why wouldn't you trust your husband or your wife, to say, look, I think we can do this so that our family can be better, so we can be in a better place financially, so we can do things in our lives that we always wanted to do. I say trust your spouse.
Well, the other thing, too, is from the perspective of, a man and being with a woman and realizing that you married up, she's a lot smarter than me, and for me, realizing that really helped us kind of go a lot further. And the fact that it's very humbling that I feel that way and she still can say that about me, it just makes us stronger. We trusted each other. And we both, came from very similar backgrounds, mm-hmm. Very, low, low middle class mm-hmm. Backgrounds. And we dreamt together. That was the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing for the audience is dream together, dream of a life where you know that debt is no longer in your life. Mm-hmm. And once we got to that point, we started to get mad and we started to realize that we worked so hard. Like our parents didn't have that much money to send us to school. So we had to take loans out. And then now this is our income and it actually isn't ours anymore. And there are people trying to take that money away from us. That pissed me off. That pissed us off. So we just decided that, look, I need to read up about this stuff. I need to know that maybe we just need to just get term insurance instead of whole life insurance. We need to, be realistic about the disability insurance that we have. We need to realize that we get a financial planner that really is focused on us, as opposed to trying to do something that's commission based.
Right.
It was a very humbling opportunity, watching your videos. We have MBAs and we're literally watching your videos, taking notes, waiting for the Sunday night sit down. So that was what we were looking forward to, and listening to other podcasts and just being humble and realizing that the information is out there. We just have to be ready to receive it. Right.
Exactly.
And once we did that, we didn't even look back.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't even an issue.
Yeah.
It really wasn't.
Yeah.
And the other thing is just kind of to end that part is to say, one of the things that I always say is if you're not planning to be together, then you're probably planning to be apart. So for me, I'm like, we need to plan together so that we don't have to plan to be apart.
Policy Genius guarantees the best life insurance price for you and those you love. It's so simple to protect your family today in 5 easy steps. 1. Calculate quotes. 2. Compare companies. 3. Apply online. 4. Receive expert advice. And 5. Rest easy. It really is that simple. Calculate, compare, apply with Policy Genius. For more info, head on over to hisandhermoney.com/Policy Genius.
You guys are great examples of what we always say, even when we're counseling people, you put in the work, I promise you it works. And so you guys obtained the information, gained the knowledge, and you actually applied it and it worked. I mean, you guys paid off over $600,000 in 3 years. That's remarkable. My gosh. So let's talk about some of the things that you guys did. How did you pay that amount of money off in such a quick time?
Oh, they're doctors, so it was easy, right?
Everybody thinks.
It was easy.
All right. So the first thing that we did was we realized we were broke. We just were like, we're broke.
That's the first thing. You got to admit that you're broke, even as a physician.
Even as 2 physician couple with the income that we're bringing in, literally our income was not ours, right? So in order for us to come to the conclusion that we were broke, we had to just get it was almost like an emergency. A fire was in our house. What are we going to do about this?
Right.
Then we looked at all of our bills, we put it on a spreadsheet, and we just realized, man, like we got all of these bills. We also, in terms of what was being spent on a daily basis and on a monthly basis, we were tracking that. And we realized that we were spending so much money in fast food when she was at work and when I was at work. And then we would buy groceries and we would eat the fast food, and then the groceries would stay in the fridge and they would perish. So money was just going in and out. We just weren't paying attention to it.
Nope.
So once we started budgeting, we literally were able to give ourselves literally a monthly budget of $200 a month
for groceries.
That was it. $50 additional went for her so that she can use for food for the, when she's at work for the month. Same thing for me, $50 a month. That's it. So $100 total. Right. Yeah. And then, we switched our insurance. We got cheaper insurance. We got term life insurance and cheaper disability insurance. We watched your video about the 13 bank accounts.
Yep.
Yep.
Started splitting up some things.
Please tell them that works. Please tell them that works.
Oh yeah, that video, because I first saw this video, 13 bank accounts.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
No, it works.
Like, how do we keep track of all this?
It works.
It worked.
Yeah, it works. And we had a car note in the beginning of all of this. We had a car note, and eventually, like with our financial planner, he helped us to pay off the car note. He helped us to figure out how to pay off that car note, actually using one of the insurances that we had that we
surrendered.
Yeah, we surrendered an insurance in order to get a cheaper insurance. So we paid off the car note with that. And after that, I was like, we should do like Ty and Talent and basically start another bank account so that when we need another car, boom, we got the money there. So that's what we did. We started putting money away every single month so that we could get a new car. And sure enough, 3 years later, we were able to buy not a new car.
We got a used car.
But we got a used car that's new to us.
Right. And we got it cash.
And that was all because of you guys.
Right. And just to let y'all know, like, so the listeners know, like, we did, like, for me, like, up until 3 years ago, I really didn't know people bought cars cash. You know, like, I didn't know that people didn't live without debt. Like, I'm telling you, like, as medical professionals in the MBA, we had no clue, right? Because when we were growing up, our parents just said save, you know, but we didn't learn the power of money. We didn't learn the power of compounding interest, investing. We didn't understand any of that stuff, you know? So sometimes some people say, oh, well, you guys are just doctors. And it's like, well, just because we're doctors doesn't mean we have like this personal finance information.
And let me tell you, we know plenty of doctors living paycheck to paycheck. Don't let them fool you.
Yeah.
Don't let them. That's why I said, it's really important to admit that you are broke, because as a medical professional, can you imagine a doctor going, I'm broke? Because people have this perception that as a physician, you're never broke. You're actually rich. And I'm like, no, we ain't rich. We broke.
The other thing too, not to belabor this point, but the other big thing that we said at the beginning of this is we will never create any more debt whatsoever.
We made that pact.
We made that pact. So that meant we had to have a healthy emergency fund first. That was going to be, if any emergencies occurred, we would use that.
Right.
We increased the deductible on our car, for our insurance.
That was another thing we did.
And then I did extra work. So the type of work I do, I work 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So I work, 24 hours in the hospital, and then I go home, and then I'm available if there's any emergency. So I do that for 2 weeks straight. And then for 2 weeks I was off. During that time, I was like, I need to do some additional work. So literally for several months at a time.
7 months.
Several months. I mean,
Long months.
I was gone literally for 2 weeks working in Wisconsin. She would be in Pennsylvania, and I was just getting extra cash so that we can just pay this debt off even quicker.
Yeah.
So we sacrificed even time away.
Right, from each other.
And then the other thing is, this boy that we have right here, he was a blessing from above. But there were times where we were trying to do it, with medical science. So we did IVF 3 times. 3 times. And because we said that we were not going to create any more debt, we're not going to use credit cards. When I had to go and leave and work, during that time, like that was what we used that money to pay for. So, it was tough times, but, we just made it happen, and we stayed true to our pact, and we didn't create any more debt. And another thing that we sacrificed for, that was the biggest one, is we live about 4 to 5 hours away from our home. We live in the rural portion of central Pennsylvania. And the reason we live here and we work here is the work here is phenomenal. It's great. But, we want to be close to our family. But in order for us to pay off our student loans, in order for us to make a really, an okay salary, like we could not afford to live on the East Coast. Right. So because of that, we are about 5 hours away from family. So.
Yeah. Living in New York and New Jersey is just, it's just way too expensive for us. So even as 2 physicians, if people are thinking like, oh, well, you're 2 doctors, it's like, even 2 doctors can't necessarily afford to live in a New York, New Jersey area without having to, potentially create more debt or continue to be in debt. So that's why we live here.
Mm-hmm. And that's been really tough. That's been really tough because we're very close to our families. We have very tight families, and but also at the same time, because we're here by ourselves, we've become so close and so tight. So that was another thing that helped us pay off our debt faster. Is just, there's really no distractions here.
It had to be tempting here and there because you all are doctors, which means that you all are around a bunch of doctors. And I'm sure that the doctors you were around weren't living the type of lifestyle you were living. I'm sure that they weren't driving the type of cars you were driving. I'm sure they weren't living in the type of residence that you were living in. How did you put the blinders up, maintain the walls, maintain the focus? Because that had to be tempting to see a parking lot full of Mercedes-Benz. I'm just guessing it was a parking lot full of Mercedes-Benz at the hospital. And you stuck to your $200 a month in groceries, your $50 a month to eat at work. How did you maintain your focus with all those shiny distractions around? Now, I'm not even going to bring up social media, but just in your real world, there's a bunch of distractions around you. How did you maintain focus?
It was tough because everybody would always ask us. The number one thing that when you first start working at a hospital is, when are you guys going to buy a home?
House.
That's what they always ask. When are you guys going to buy a home? And we always would say,
we have a home. It's student loans.
It's Sally Mae. Yeah. We
our lender is Sally Mae. I mean, for us, it was like, look, you know what? One of the things I think, and like Nee said, we grew up kind of very similarly. But one of the things I think in both of our households that we learned is that, you run your own household. Like, nobody can put their hand in your pocket, basically, or tell you what to have in your home. And for us, it was like, this is what we need for us. And so there was a lot of pressure. People would invite us to dinner all the time. Remember? And there was one point, he's a social butterfly, right? That's why he has a podcast. But he's a social butterfly. And people always invite him out to dinner. They always invite him out to dinner. And finally, one day I was like, Nee, I said, look, we cannot go to dinner. We did not budget for it. Yeah. And he was like, what do you want me to say to them? I said, tell them we cannot go to dinner because we didn't budget for it. That's our reasoning. I'm a grown woman. I don't have to sit there and lie to you about why I can't go to dinner. Oh, I got another engagement. No, I did not budget for it. It's nice that you have money to go to dinner, but we don't. So we'll catch you on the next one. And that was pretty much it.
So I took that recording and I would play it to those people who asked.
I love that. Love that. Now, were there any obstacles along the way while you guys were getting out of debt? I'm sure that there were some bumps in the road and things like that. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, even the IVF, I think, was kind of a bump in the road, if you will, right? Because when you go to start your family, you're not thinking that you're going to need medical assistance. You're just thinking, okay, well, when I'm ready to start my family, then we'll just start it. And that I think was probably the biggest bump in the road for us with regards to trying to pay off our debt, because as people know, IVF can be very, very expensive. And like Nee said, he was working really, really hard to not just pay off the student loan debt, but also to put money towards the IVF because we did not want to put it on credit. What else?
So the other thing too, and this goes to answer your previous question, is like you said, there's not many people who think like we were thinking at that moment. So we were listening to podcasts and reading like crazy. You all became our mastermind group, right? Like, we didn't have any friends who were trying to pay off debt. We didn't have, like, our family members were looking at us, like we were crazy. Mm-hmm. So we would listen to your show as much as we could. We would listen to other podcasts just because you became our mastermind group. You kept us accountable. Yeah. That's how we were able to keep the blinders on. Like, literally, when I was driving into work, I'd be listening to your show. When I was driving home, I would listen to your show. Every Sunday, I'd be watching your videos. I would watch your periscopes. So that's how we were able to stay accountable to each other, as well as, in essence, to you all, is you all became our mastermind. And that's for anybody else who's listening and they're wondering, like, how do I stay focused? Is with technology nowadays, your friends may not be doing it and your family may not be doing it, or your loved one may not be doing it. But, there's such thing as podcasts or YouTube.
Social media,
like they can, like, it's a different day and age. Like, this is a very powerful way to keep you accountable, and we utilized it. And for the past 3 years, y'all, we really relied on y'all. So,
man, that's awesome to hear. Did people call y'all crazy because you said your family wasn't into this, your friends wasn't into this? So were people like really questioning your motives, or were people kind of silent and kind of letting you all do your thing?
So it was just kind of like, at first it was like, oh, okay, you guys are trying to think. It was almost like we weren't discouraged. I can't say our family was discouraging. They weren't discouraging. They were actually encouraging, but it was just kind of like this thing like, oh, okay, you guys are doing that. Okay. Until we really started doing it. And then some of our family members actually came around, like our sisters, my sister and his sister actually started coming around and was like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, I see what you guys are doing here. You're budgeting, you're, starting to put money away for, kids' college. And they wanted to kind of do some of the same things. So they started realizing like, okay, so this is not just a pipe dream. This is something that is doable. So yeah, I mean, they kind of, they didn't discourage us, but it was just kind of like, okay, so you guys are doing this thing. That's great, but not really into it, you know?
I had friends who were just like, you guys are crazy. So they just were like, what, like, how poor are you guys? Like, I don't understand this. Like, is something going on in your relationship or in your, at work? And we're like, no, we just want to be out of debt, and we don't want to be working into our 70s. Let's leave it to you like that.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
I think that's a sad state of affairs when people have to work into their 70s, just to pay off, especially something like student loans. For me, I'm like, that is so sad that you would stay your whole career just to pay off your schooling. Like, yeah, no one should have to do that.
True. So talk about that moment. Walk us through that moment when you guys paid that last portion of that debt.
Man, Nii was screaming.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically we budget all the time, what's coming up for the upcoming month. And we were doing the budget and we were looking at how much we had left. And I was like, I think this is it. This is the month. Yeah. I think this, because like I said, initially it was supposed to be about 4.5 years, 5 years to pay it off. But we were making so many accelerated payments. Halfway into our payment schedule, we're realizing, wow, like we're going to hit maybe 3 years on this. So anyway, we get to that point where like we have enough to pay the last payment. We brought up 2 different laptops. Because we don't have the same student loan servicer.
Right.
She had
Nelnet.
She had Nelnet. I had Sally Mae or Navient. And we brought it up at the same time. She put her number in. I put my number in. And we both literally hit send at the same time.
And it was
like balloons did not come down, but literally we pressed refresh just to make sure like, okay, it's done, right?
And we were playing that song. I finished paying Sally Mae back.
Yeah, we played D1. Yeah, Sally Mae back. And
we were playing that. And Nii was screaming.
Yeah, I was celebrating. I mean, it was because I heard so many times on your show you would have guests and they said, it's almost kind of anticlimactic and stuff. But we were not going to let that kind of rain our parade. We just created our own parade in the house. So,
yeah, it was fun.
I love it.
So I'm sure that you guys shared that, right? Like on Facebook or social media. Not yet?
Not yet. But it's coming. It's coming.
Okay, so do your friends know that you all paid that off?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what was their response?
They were kind of like shocked. So we shared that we paid off the student loans. We didn't share the video yet, but we did share that we paid off the student loans. And I think actually we shared it in your group and we got so much positive feedback, from Twitter to Facebook. I mean, we got so much positive feedback. People were like, oh my God, I can't believe how much you paid off in 3 years. I mean, it's a large amount in 3 years. People started like contacting me, like, how'd you do it? Yeah. There was one young lady actually who I work with, and I went into the hospital. And after, we signed out all of the patients, she's like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, what? She's like, She's like, I can't be broke the rest of my life. Yeah. So people were very, very positive and just very encouraging. And then, you had some people who were like, nah, I'm just going to stay with my loans because my interest rates are low. And I'm like, whatever works for you. But this is what works for us.
Yeah. So what was that next month like, or the next pay period like, when you guys did not have to put it towards that debt?
So we use the Dave Ramsey every dollar system.
Yeah.
And that's been very helpful for us. So literally, the next month comes and we're looking at each other like, why is this line item still here? Like, you better get that off. Like, scratch that off.
Yep, scratch off that
scratch
student
that
loan.
off. And for once, like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, we are not big spenders at all.
No.
Like, I haven't bought a pair of new clothes in like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Definitely since we started paying off the debt, we're like,
Right.
So for us, like, to now have this amount of money that we can put towards, our son's education.
Yeah.
And now, like, we can really put towards our retirement and then also have a little small amount to kind of get a house in the future eventually. It felt really empowering, I really want people to understand like what it's like to really go to work come home and at the end of 2 weeks get a paycheck and know that it's not yours.
Yeah.
Like that is just, it was so crippling. And now, 180-degree difference now, like all of this is ours.
Yeah.
Like we just
to do pretty much the things that we actually want to do. And that's what I want to emphasize also is that, now we don't have the student loan debt. It doesn't mean that we go out and just buy the Lamborghini. You know what I mean? Like that is not the way, because then we'll end up, right back where we started. So you have to really think about, once you pay off those student loans, what are those things in your life that are really important that you think you need to save for, invest for, and still be financially responsible so that you can do those things. And that's pretty much what we're doing. We didn't splurge or anything like that. Obviously, we have a little more pocket change, but again, we're still pretty responsible with our money, and we put it in places that we think will help us in the future.
Yeah, we're a little bit behind on retirement just because we just prioritize student loan debt. So we have some catching up to do.
Yeah.
What's the biggest lesson about life that you learned during this 3-year journey to debt freedom?
I'll let you go first.
Ooh, that's a
really good question.
That's a good question.
That's how you go first.
I think that for me, I think it's a few lessons, but probably the biggest is, working as a team, trusting your spouse, knowing that you have somebody who's in this with you, can take you a really long way. Can really take you a long way. And knowing that, what they call delayed gratification, for me, it means different things than for other people, right? People take delayed gratification to mean like, oh, well, now I can't buy this big fancy house, or I can't buy this big fancy car. And I'm like, no, I'd like to put my son through college. Okay. So that for me, I'm like, a car is a car is a car. It will take me from point A to point B, whether I'm in a Lamborghini or a Pinto. But I can't just put my son through college, with chump change. So for me, I'm like, if I'm going to quote unquote delay gratification, you best believe I'm going to do it for a really, really good reason.
Yeah, I think she just did a mic drop on that one. So I'm gonna let her leave it. I'm gonna leave it with that point right there. That was a great point.
So what's next for the Darkos?
Yee.
Yeah. So, this whole process has really helped us to kind of understand what's really important to us. And I think one of the things that's really important to us is financial freedom, as well as just kind of doing our own thing. So Renee has a pre-med coaching business that she started called Pre-Med Strategies. And I have a podcast called Docs Outside the Box. And it's about doctors who do extraordinary things outside of medicine. And the biggest tenet is talking about financial independence. And the reason that came about was I felt so constricted with my job and working so hard and, paycheck, we're not owning our paycheck and not being able to do what I really wanted to do. That's kind of what came about from that. That's a manifestation from that. So
we also have another business where we it's what they call locum tenens.
Yeah.
But basically it's a temp agency, if you will, for physicians. So we basically place physicians in places of need temporarily.
Yeah. So this all came about from us just saying, like, what is it that we really, want? And it wasn't like anything personal. It was just like we aspire to do more of our lives. And for these 3 years, we just started dreaming. And it wasn't like, we want to own this. We want to build something, and it became like she wanted to build a business. I wanted to build another business. And so that's the newest thing now is just I don't have to put in 100-hour weeks anymore. I can slow down a little bit and kind of focus on building those businesses, and so can she. So.
Yeah.
And give us the websites for those, the podcast, the pre-med coaching, and the placement business.
Yeah. So the pre-med coaching is called Pre-Med Strategies, and you can find it at www.premedstrategies.com.
And then Equal Access Health is a locum tenens company. It's a temp agency for physicians. That's at www.equalaccesshealth.net. And then the podcast, Docs Outside the Box, that's at www.docs OTB as in boy.com. And you can get that on Google Play, Stitcher Radio, everywhere you can find the His and Her Money Show. I use that as an inspiration. So you guys really have inspired us to do so many different things.
It's a great show. Yeah. It is a great show. I listen to it. I'm not even a medical doctor, but I like it a lot.
He does.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now you talked a lot about the fact that you all read a lot. You all listened to some podcasts. So give out some books, give out some podcasts that you all would recommend to others on their journeys.
His and Her Money Show.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
That's a given. That's it.
The YouTube version, the podcast version.
Yep.
Fine. That is huge.
Yep.
In terms of other
podcasts,
other digital media, we listen to Farnoosh Torabi on podcast, Stacking Benjamins also.
Dave Ramsey Show.
The Dave Ramsey Show. And then for books, we read the Money Makeover, Total Money Makeover.
Total Money Makeover.
Right. We did. I took your advice, Talit, and did audio. Because we had very long drives back and forth between our families and stuff. So, and then we did I Will Teach You to Be Rich with Ramit Sethi. That was a really interesting book. I really enjoyed that one also. But obviously podcasts and digital media has been really big for us since, we are, at work so many times and our focus has to be on things. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult to read, but listening and
that helps.
That helps a lot.
We also did I Will Teach You the 4-Hour Work Week by
Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, we did that, especially because we were starting our own businesses. And so, just kind of looking towards the future, like, okay, well, how can we make ourselves more efficient now that we've paid off our loans and we're still technically working as physicians, but we have other businesses on the side.
If someone is listening right now who, is celebrating you for the work that you all were able to do and the fact that you all are debt free, but in their mind and with their situation, they're not sure if they have what it takes to do what you all did, what words of encouragement would you tell them if they were right in front of you right now?
Well, we were where you were at 3-4 years ago. We were literally scared, afraid, disappointed in ourselves, not sure if we could even pay this off. Yep. We didn't believe it. And literally kind of thinking that we were failures. Like, we did all the schooling and we have all this debt and how are we going to make it?
Yep.
And through literally just dreaming together and trusting each other and being humble enough to go out and look for information and not be stuck up about it and accept it and act on it and be open to making mistakes. We got to that point.
Yeah.
Did we make mistakes on our budget? Absolutely. We just made a mistake last month, and we're 3 years into making it.
Exactly.
So the people who out there who are listening and are wondering if thinking that they can't do it, yes, we had a big shovel, but in essence, we had a big hole also. But every month you just got to come at it every day. You got to hit it hard and then surround yourself with positive people. Surround yourself with the His and Her Money Show. Surround yourself with, all the different positive podcasts that are out there. Make them your mastermind.
Yeah.
And you will do it. It may be 5 years, it may be 10 years, but you will do it. And you will make mistakes. But if you reach out to people, nowadays with social media, there's so many ways that you can keep in contact with positive people in your life. You will be able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. You guys are such an inspiration. And I just want to make mention of this because you guys are doctors and we get sometimes people leave comments. They're like, oh, I'm sure they made a lot of money.
I just roll my eyes when I read it.
But when you really think about this though, compared to the number that you all started out with 600 something, it really is the same, percentage wise, to somebody who could be.
What was a monthly student loan payment for you all?
So for us, you talking about for the minimum payment or when we were getting really serious? The minimum payment or
minimum. Let's start with the minimum. That's enough shock value right there.
So the minimum, I think
for you, the minimum for Renee was $1,400.
Yeah.
The minimum for me was $1,300.
Right.
Now, when we made those payments, this is the part that was painful. When we would make those payments, so for Renee would make a $1,400 payment. When you would go and look what was being allocated, literally like $300 would go to principal. The other $1,000, $1,100 would go to interest.
Yeah.
So that we calculated it literally on a monthly basis, on a daily basis. We were spending anywhere between $88 to like $90 a day
in interest.
That's just like giving them $100 bill.
Say, hey, take this.
Yeah,
Literally,
pretty much.
We felt as though we would drive in the morning, take some cash, and just let it fly out the window because it wasn't doing anything for us, but we still had to pay it. So that was part of the thing that got us angry. We were like, we got to stop this bleeding.
Right.
We're bleeding and we don't even know how to stop it.
But then once we got on our plan to pay it off as quickly as possible, we were literally, every month probably paying off a car.
Yeah.
We're talking about, tens of thousands of dollars, literally just your pretty much most of your paycheck. Because at one point, 80% of our paycheck was going towards student loans. 80%. Yeah. Of our paycheck.
So those were tough times also because you're just like we're just spending all this money and giving it to them. That's it.
Yeah.
Like we're not building anything yet. But then that's when we would rely on each other. She would pick me up. I would pick her up. When we both needed picking up, like we would go to your videos. Those were some tough times. Even though we were making positive movements, just knowing that literally it's tough. It's really difficult what we do at times. Like it's stressful. Yeah. You talk to families, you lose patience at times, or you work 100-hour weeks. And then, at the end of 2 weeks or at the end of the month, you get this and you're just like, well, it's not mine.
Not mine.
Got to go.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need picking up from that. And, we were able to rely on each other.
Mm-hmm.
So what were you guys eating with a $200 grocery budget? That's another question. I'm sure people are going to be like, tell us, what were you eating?
We watched your videos, Aldi's.
Aldi. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. We actually started going to Aldi because there's an Aldi in the town that we live in. So we were going to Aldi and we would pick up food from there, ate a lot of rice and beans, which for us, we're immigrants. So we eat, rice and beans is like, okay, well,
that's fine.
Fine by me. So lots of rice and beans and, that's what we were doing.
Yeah. We would buy meat and just like kind of package it. Yeah. Like 4 at a time so that, we wouldn't overeat or food wouldn't get wasted. So
yeah, that's what we do. Cause you buy those long packs of chicken. If you defrost the entire thing, then you're almost obligated to cook the whole thing. So what we would do is as soon as we got home, we would package it in little Ziploc bags. We put 4 drumsticks or wings or whatever and just package them each, separately. So then that way, once we defrost something, we are only defrosting what we are going to eat so that way we don't have too much left over and food doesn't go to waste. Yeah.
Now, you guys spent so much time making a lot of sacrifices and saying no a lot. What's that one pleasure that you guys have allowed to come back into your lives now since the debt is paid off? What's that one thing for each of you individually? And you can mention as a couple.
It's going to be unfortunate. Not yet.
Gotta be something. Dinners? Are we going out to dinners yet?
But yeah, I mean, we're gonna go out to dinner and have something.
Well,
to
tomorrow's
eat.
My birthday, so we better be going out to dinner.
We're gonna go to dinner. We're gonna go see the Black Panther movie. We haven't seen it. We've been waiting to see that. Yeah, and and we're planning a trip now. We're not sure when it's going to be. Yeah. Maybe by the end of the year or maybe by next year. Maybe we'll do a trip where we're able to get out of the country and just kind of see the sights and stuff. So
yeah. So we'll do something.
We're a little boring. So
yeah, we're not very exciting in that way.
Yeah, that's right.
And we are super proud of you guys.
Proud
We've
of you
been
guys.
watching. Yep. We've been cheering. We've been clapping your progress. Yep. And to be here with you right now at this moment where those student loans are completely out of your life. We're encouraged to know that you were encouraged by us, but we are super encouraged by the fact that you all persevered through this whole process of paying off over $600,000 worth of debt. Congratulations. And thank you for taking time to share this with our audience today.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you for having us on your show.
Thank you so much.